Great looking book. Yeah, it is. I get a lot of compliments on that cover. It's George Clooney. What can I say? Look, if we have to do it again, we do it again. It's not a big deal. I'm always running around doing new shit.
Yes, we're live. It looks
Evan, I'm waiting. Let's go, man. Okay, so the book was my creation back in February. My partner and I coach CEOs and C-suite executives like CFOs and head of HRs and all that as for a living. And they come to us because we're the no bullshit kind of coaches that they're looking for. There's way so many times that people just tell them what they want to hear, and then they come to us and say, "Wait a minute, time out. This is just nonsense you're telling me. Who the hell is going to follow you? Because you're not real, you're not authentic, you're not really leading. You're just managing day to day and putting out fires, and no one gives a shit about that. They want somebody that they can follow, who's got a vision, who knows where they want to go, who has got some emotional intelligence, can help them understand their own issues as well, and build an organization that's going to be successful in hitting their strategic objectives, but also their financial objectives. If they can't make fucking money, they're not going to be around. The lifespan of a CEO is 2 years. Either produce or we'll get somebody else who can do it. And that means hitting the numbers, getting the board on board, making sure that you've got the right 3 year operating plan. And so my partner and I, and again, we share our clients and stuff, but I wrote the book because I'm tired of hearing about CEOs complaining about stuff. And look, that's not going to get you anywhere. It's not your people, and it's not the board, it's not other things, it's you. And until you realize that you got some issues that you got to deal with, and then stop managing day to day and putting out fires and that nonsense, that's not going to get you the results that you want. You got to make bold decisions in order to get bold results. And if you can't do that, then you're probably in the wrong job. And we need to find somebody else who can do it. And I know people don't want to hear that, but that's the truth. That's just the way things are. When I worked at IAC for Barry Diller and stuff, he doesn't pull any punches. He's the one that created Fox and other things. Smart as hell, really difficult to work for. Don't try and bullshit me. He would tell me that face to face. So I don't. But my other clients are the same way. So I decided to write this book to identify 29 skills that I think people need to have in the C-suite, especially being a CEO or COO, whatever. These are the skills that you gotta have. And so I wrote the book, and then what I want to do is continue to embrace new clients to get new CEOs who are doing startup companies and other kinds of companies. They come to me, well, what do I have to do in the first 6 months? Well, I'll be really clear. You got to have a vision. You got to have really clear strategic plans. You got to have KPIs that everyone agrees to, and you got to have a team that wants to bust their butt for you. And those people are out there. I'm tired of hearing about Gen Z and they're lazy and they got other. That's all bullshit. People want to work for people who know what the hell they're doing. And whether it's in sports or business or entertainment, they will deliver if you can win their hearts and minds. That's what it comes down to at the end of the day, with really clear directives. So I wrote the book to start talking about this kind of stuff. Well, it's really important to me, especially, look, I just joined a new group for the government, and it's all about trying to save the country and stuff. But I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican. I'm about getting stuff done in a really logical, thoughtful manner. And so I joined the Alliance for American Leadership, and we're about finding out what's going on in this country because Congress is clueless in so many ways, and they're not leaders anymore. They are just doers, and somebody tells them what to do and they do it. So that's just one part of it. But I find a lot of CEOs are the same way. When I talk to the boards, they'll bring me in and say, well, give me an assessment of the CEO. What's he or she doing? What they're like? What are their objectives? Why can't they get stuff done? And look, I don't hold back any punches. This is the way things are. And if they're not going to be effective, I can help them be effective, but it's up to them to make that decision. So they've got to be able to cross that line. And I'm tired of people being in their wheelhouses. When I coach heads of HR, they're like, oh, we got to worry about the people and somebody's feelings. Bullshit. Look, we're here to run a business. And if we have the right people, they'll come to work every day. They'll want to contribute. Maybe they want to be remote. Maybe they don't want to be remote, but it's about getting results in a logical, common sense manner where you can save money, but also drive revenue. And that's what it comes down to. Business is not that difficult if you know your product, your people, and your services and how you want to get there. Yep. So this actually started back when I was in GE and Pepsi, and they would always hire me to say, look, this one of the businesses in their portfolio was struggling. We need somebody who's going to come in and set the standard, work for the CEO or the general manager, and turn things around. So they call me the fixer. And so, look, I'd go in and help fix the business. It's not that difficult. I get it. I know the numbers really well. I know what it takes. I know talent assessment. And again, I don't have time to wait to hurt somebody's feelings or things of that nature. It's all nonsense. We're in there to do a job, and the board brought us in for a reason. And so I can assess a business within 30 days. So that started way back when in GE and Pepsi. And probably about 12 years or so ago, I was hired by a startup company in New York called Buddy Media. The co-founders and I are really aligned in terms of where we want to take the business, but they couldn't make any money. And so, look, I said to them, let's take a step back here. What are we doing? What's the communication plan? What's the strategic plan? Where's the money flying out the window that the investors gave us? And how do we get everybody on board so we can really drive revenue? And we were one of the first businesses to start doing marketing and advertising on Facebook. This is a while ago now. And so, look, in a long story short, we grew the business very quickly. We met with Salesforce, and over a weekend, Salesforce bought the company for $750 million. And we were valued at about 40 million at the time. So obviously that CEO saw the worth of us. We merged into Salesforce. We did a great job. And then I went off to work for some other companies. But, again, the message is I can come in and help people think through their businesses really quickly. I'm not worried about political nonsense. I'm about running the business, growing the business, looking at the cost structure. Do we have the right people? If we don't have the right people, where are we going to get them? And then making things happen. So I got lots of energy. I move quickly. I get results, and I come in and I make a difference. And whether it was at GE or Pepsi or other businesses that brought me in, I know operations well. I know how to run a business. As one CEO once told me, you know what? You know how to make fucking money. And that's my motto. I know how to make money. and say the things that need to be said. So the first thing is looking at the strategy and the products, and do we have the right products and the right strategy and marketing and the communications? Do we have a plan to really make things happen? Where's that going to happen? Let's poke some holes in it. Do we have any data? Do we have any research? And also, what about our cost? Who's watching over the cost on a daily basis? Investors gave us money to grow the business, so we got to be really smart about doing that. So you got to combine all these activities at one time. So you got to look at the strategic plan. What are the KPIs? What's the cost structure? And really important is, do we have the talent? You know, CEOs have a hard time getting rid of people who help them grow the business to a certain level. But as I tell them, whoever took you to the first base probably is not going to take you to second base because they don't have the bandwidth or the smarts to do that. And cutting a cord early on before it gets too difficult is really important. So I go into a CEO's office and say, "What the fuck? Why don't we get rid of this guy? He's dragging us down. He's not moving quick enough." The board's going to come back to you and say, "Look at these numbers. You promised us 45% margins. We've got 25% margins. Where are you going to make up that difference? How are you going to get there? What's your plan and how quickly is it going to happen?" The boards these days are, as I mentioned before, are really impatient. They'll give a CEO 2 years to turn things around and make things happen and show some trends. If you can't do that, they're going to move on to somebody else. And it's not going to be me who's going to lose my job. It's going to be them because they're going to say, go find somebody else that can go make this happen because we like your attitude. We like how you make things work. And we know you're impatient to get results like we are. There's a reason why we're investing in this company and investing in the compensation of all these people. We pay our C-suite executives a shitload of money. And so where are the results? It's as simple as that. Yep. Yeah, well, I would say there's three things that every CEO needs to focus on. It's people, it's processes, and products. And if you can't focus on all three of those things and limit it to just that so you don't get sidetracked, you're not going to be successful. So, the first thing I would say is, do you have the right product? Is this something that's going to sell? And what's the marketplace for it? What's the pricing for it? What's the distribution? What's the supply chain? All those factors. Um, and then what's the processes? Who's making the product? Who's going to do the marketing, like you mentioned? Who's going to do the sales? Who's going to do the financial accountability, of course? Who's going to check on all that stuff? And then the third thing is the people. Do you have the right people to take you to the level that you need to get to? You promised the board that you'd have these results within this time frame. Do you have the people? And that's probably the toughest thing to do at times because I find that many CEOs keep their people too long. And then they come back and say, "Oh, I should have let them go 6 months ago and replaced them." Well, you know what? You're right. You should have. And I'm here to help kick your ass to make sure that you do those things. Because you're going to say to me, well, what do you think of my CFO? And I'm going to say, he or she's okay, but are they strategic enough? Have they delivered the results? Can they run the company if you're on vacation for 2 weeks? Who the hell's going to do that job? You can't just let it sit. Someone's going to have to be in charge. So do you have that right person? Do you have the right marketing person who really knows social media, who knows product movement, who's done the research and things of that nature? Do you have the right HR person who's going to bring in the talent for you and manage your costs and do things of that nature? Who's your chief technology officer? What the hell is that person doing? And why don't you have a better platform to do your products and things of that nature? So you're only as good as the team around you. And then whether it's again in any kind of business, in education, sports, whatever, you're only as good as the people around you. And so there's so many examples of that. Um, whether again, you name the industry, and you got to have that talent. Okay, so the thing about me is I've been in and out of so many different industries. It could be manufacturing, it could be financial services. I worked in restaurants, I worked in retail. So to me, business is relatively simple. You've got revenue and you've got cost and you've got profit. And around the three things that I already mentioned, processes and products and people, you got to build everything around that. So for me, CEOs like me because they like to have somebody at their side to say, am I doing the right stuff on a daily basis? If I'm not, tell me. And if I need some more advice or counsel, they'll come to me because I'm about innovation as well. It's not about yesterday's story. You're only as good as your last financial quarter. So every quarter, even maybe even every year in many ways, you got to have results. You got to stay on top of it. So that's really important to me. And so, look, I wrote the book to help people think about all these different skills that they've got to have. And the difference between leading and managing is really critical. It's getting in front of your people with a vision and knowing where you want to go, and then helping and letting them help you design the strategy and execute. You can't execute everything. And what I found working with McKinsey and Bain and all those great consulting firms, they're terrific. They're the smartest kids in the world. But you know what? They leave and you've got to get it shit and done. And you know what? It's not so easy unless you've got the people around you to get it done. That's where companies fail because they'll work with a big time consulting firm. They'll say, here's everything we're going to do, and here's the numbers, and blah, blah, blah. And then they leave, and it's like, okay, now where do I start? And they don't have the talent to get it done. And so they may have impressed the board, and the board's expecting all these great expectations of results, and it kind of falls apart. And I see it a lot in mergers and acquisitions too. Like, let's go buy this firm, we'll merge everything, we'll take the cost out, we'll do this and that. All bullshit. They're once they really run the numbers and they see what they got, it's not as great a story as they think it is sometimes, unless they're really in front of it and really well organized and they know specifically what the game plan is. And then if they can execute on the game plan, terrific. But so many times they can't. Yes, it's two things. One is a call with me. It's a complimentary call, 45 minutes to an hour. Let's talk about your business. What are your challenges? What do you want to get done going into 2026? It's already October. You should be finishing up your budget for next year. What are the 3 to 5 challenges and how are you going to make those happen? The second one I have is it's really a scorecard of you taking assessment, a true assessment of your team. Here's 29, 30 skills. Really be honest with yourself and say, where do these people rank against these skills? And I can help you think through that and be very honest with you. I'll even come and interview some folks if you want me to do that. But if you don't have the talent around you, you're not going to win. You can't do everything yourself. You're the CEO. You're supposed to do the strategic vision, but you've got to have people that can execute. And look, if you look at, and again, I'll just pick out sports, but there's always a general manager who is expected to win every year, but he or she can't win without the players on the team. And that's where you got to make some really tough decisions. And if you don't have the right players, go get them or develop them. You have to get rid of everybody, but you got to learn how to develop these people and give them real responsibility so that they can run with you. And again, I hear about millennials and Gen Z. They're all really smart people if you let them be engaged. It's when you put them in a box that they say, I don't want to be in a box. I went to school. I'm smart. I know how to do things. I'm willing to take some risk. Well, you got to let them ride and run with you. And that's not an easy thing to do because they're going to fall down sometimes. But I bet you 8 out of 10 times they're going to win because they know how to win and they're smart, and you can develop these people and you can develop a succession plan so that you're not doing everything yourself. So two things again. One, you meet with me. I'll be as honest with you. You lay out the business. I'll do my research and I'll tell you where I think your business fits and the challenges it's going to have, especially after looking at your budget for next year. So I can do that. And the second thing is let's do a real assessment of your team. Do you have the right players? And if not, what are you going to do about it? That's for his team. That's for his or her team to do the assessment. And the other part they can do with that, if they want to, is let his players or her players fill it out on themselves and do a self-assessment. And then he can or she can say, I agree with this or I don't agree with it. Because so many times people over exaggerate their capabilities. Say on a scale of 1 to 5, they're a 5 on strategic vision. And I go to the CEO and say, what do you think? And he or she will tell me, you know what? They're a 3 at best. They really can't do it. Okay, there's a gap there. What are you going to do about that gap? And is that the right person who's going to take you to the next level? And the board expects you to make those decisions. It's not their job. You've got to come back with the team. They'll support you if they think you're right. But if you don't take action and get the results, see you later, Charlie. There's always somebody else who could run the company better. Because if you can't do it, they'll find somebody who will, especially if you work in private equity. They've got no patience for this. They've got investors, they got a lot of money at stake. So I do work with several private and equity firms who really like my no nonsense approach. Yeah, now look, let me give you an example. A CEO has got a key performance indicator that he's got to get his margins from 35 to 45%. And he's got new products, got innovation, all that. Why can't he turn to his CFO and head of marketing and say, what's the game plan? How are we going to do this? You tell me how we're going to make this happen. Not that I know what the vision is. The vision is I want to hit these numbers. You tell me specifically what are we going to do to get there? And so many times the CFO or the head of marketing will say, well, you tell us how we're going to get there. You don't want to be telling people how to do things. You got to let them bring their brains to work and get results and take some risk. You can't do everything yourself. There's too many fires to put out every day. Yeah, I would say, can I come back in a month? Because I don't have